Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Darrow webinar. It's wonderful to see familiar faces as well as new faces. Welcome, everyone. We're just going to take another minute to join more people to the webinar, and I'll quickly introduce myself and Darrow. My name is Amit Shemesh. I do partnerships here at Darrow, and we are a legal intelligence startup focusing on discovering, assessing, and addressing legal violations. And today we're going to speak about the evolution of wiretap litigation. So again, welcome to everyone who's joined the webinar and thank you for making time. I will dive in by introducing our two speakers for today. I'm joined by my colleagues Michael Harari, who's a litigation partnerships executive here at Darrow, previously an IP lawyer, and Nir Briscoe from our legal intelligence team, who is a data privacy specialist and will shed some light on the technology aspect of things. So before we dive into wiretap litigation, I want to give a bit of an overview, data-backed overview of the area. So what you can see here should come as no surprise with the rise of um, technology and data-related innovation. Data privacy litigation is on the rise, almost doubling between 2020 and 2024, and it's growing. So basically, the numbers you see here are of cases that are filed in the US in the area of data privacy litigation. And what's really interesting is that not only are the filings on the rise, but the settlement values are rising as well. So in 2023, the settlement value was $897 million, and that number doubled to 2024 with $2.01 billion. And so it's really significant. It's not just that the number of cases that are filed is increasing, but the actual value per case is on the rise too. So clearly, this is a very hot topic. And with that, I would love to pass it over to my colleague, Michael.
Thanks, Amit. That data is really interesting. I joined Darrow about 3 years ago because Darrow believes in using AI for justice. AI fighting AI. I spent about a decade litigating in both the public and private sector, and Darrow is leading the way with the vision of the public sector and the innovation of the private. Wiretap litigation is evolving. It's fascinating, yet alarming to see how quick this area is growing and adapting, both quantitatively and qualitatively. As new technologies are emerging, companies are finding ways to employ these tactics to collect the user data. And as attorneys, we need to keep up with this and find innovative ways to spot these violations when and where they're happening. One of the recent developments in this area is the targeting of third-party tracking providers. That's the cookies, the pixels. Any time where a website is now embedding these cookies and pixels into its code to allow it to collect more user data. These include clicks, messages, searches, and the courts are viewing these as potential wiretap violations. These third-party tracking is used to collect the user data and then monetize. And that's where it's evolving. So now, why are these companies being targeted? There's really three main reasons. Precedent. Folks are starting to find that these companies are liable. Just recently, in the Flow app case, one of the first CIPA cases to go to trial, Meta was found liable. If you go back further, back to February 2024, there was a $90 million settlement involving Meta for tracking logged out users that clicked on a like button. Earlier than that, January, there was a case against Meta and TikTok for involving and embedding tracking in healthcare websites. Google is just the same. Google was involved in two separate cases. One involving sensitive financial data being used on tax preparation websites, and another for health sensitive information used on healthcare websites. So these companies are certainly have a precedent from where they are found liable. Second, they're highly collectible. Large tech companies have the financial resources that makes it more attractive for plaintiff attorneys. And finally, larger class sizes. With millions of users, there's a higher potential payout and more opportunity to really help people. But then there's those challenges that we need to address, the challenges of overly broad class sizes. Everyone knows sometimes when you go too big, sometimes you end up hurting yourself in the long run. It's important to think smart about it from the beginning. The more you focus narrowly on who your target class is and not use overly broad classes, that really helps you in the long term. Sometimes you have with these type of large traffic websites, so many potential victims. But what we really need to do is focus on where and the when the violation is occurring. We need to focus on what type of information, what's the unifying information that's being sent, and how can we tie that class together in a narrowly defined way that will prevail and proceed along the way and ensure that there's class certification. So it's really a fascinating area, interesting developments, and a lot of opportunities for law firms. So I guess the real question is, well, how do you find these cases? And that I handed over to Nir.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. My name is Neil Briscoe. I'm part of the Legal Intelligence Group, focusing on the privacy domain. Today, I will show you about our process in the Legal Intelligence Department of creating, producing cases that are founded mostly on what Michael just presented. Our process can be broken down into three substantial steps. The first is information gathering. The second is prioritization. And the third, which is the most thorough one, is investigation. So let's start. Um, so the information gathering, which is the first step, here in our department, we are trying to conduct a very broad open source web research to have a very good understanding of the ecosystem of tracking software vendors. We want to understand who are those vendors taking place in this industry. We want to characterize those vendors and understand what type of information they're focusing on, how popular are their tracking software are, um, how 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 their trackers operate. Um, all of this is very important for us for our initial understanding of what are going to be the best leads for us in to focus on in the next steps. Now here it's very important to understand to say that before conducting this very broad research, it's very important to define for ourselves what are the characteristics that we're looking for, what is relevant for our future cases, what is less relevant. We don't want to get lost in all of that information, so we need to be very focused on what's important for us for the next step of prioritization. So after we get a broad understanding, a full understanding of this ecosystem, we want to prioritize the cases that are most likely to be successful in court. So how do we do that? We want to understand, we want to find the cases that are likely to violate the most up-to-date legal standards in the privacy domain. And for that, we're looking for the case for the entities that provide the most the trackers that handle the most sensitive information, like medical information, financial information. We want trackers that are most popular to have a big case, a big convincing case. Um, and that helps us go in depth. That helps us understand where do we want to focus for the next step, which, like I said, is very time consuming, the step of investigation. So in this step, we conduct a very in-depth investigation of how those trackers work. And we want to show, after understanding how those trackers work, how they violate the legal standards in the privacy world, in the privacy domain. So, how do we tackle this? We come up with a strategy. We join forces of our cyber researchers and our legal intelligence analysts like myself. And by joining those forces, we can show in a case, we can build a case, a legal theory in which it is very comprehensible how the violation is being done. We want to make it very visibly clear. We really want to emphasize what is the functionality of the tracker, how it identifies a user, a human being, and how this identification can be associated with the data that is being intercepted. Once we do that, we have a very clear, most likely successful case to bring to court eventually. And we try really to focus on encompassing all angles to have the most convincing case. And these are the three steps. Let's just go over them once again. Like I said, we have the first step of information gathering. After that, we prioritize our cases. And third, we conduct a very thorough, in-depth investigation to come up with the best case possible. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Nir and Michael. And we're moving on to questions. We received a few before the webinar, so let's start. This one is from Michael. You mentioned challenges around certifying overly broad classes. What are some strategies plaintiff attorneys can use to structure stronger certifiable classes in these type of cases?
Great question. I think in general, class certification is always an issue. It's like a golden trap, right? On the one hand, you want big classes because it comes with bigger damages. But on the other hand, you may set yourself up for failure later with class certification. So generally just being more narrowly focused and specific on whom you're targeting and who the victims are. I'll say that Dow has that ability, and something we work on with our technology, is we can look at the large web traffic, but we can see the where and when and the specific terms, specific web pages to allow us to create a more narrowly focused and defined class. And that's really helpful in terms of class certification later.
Cool. The next question is also for you. How are jurisdictional differences shaping strategy in wiretap class actions?
So I think it's a two-pronged answer. I think on the one hand, you always have the venue aspect, right? There are certain venues that are more friendly to class actions, and certainly more venues that are more friendly to wiretap claims. So that's one jurisdictional action that we think about. And then I think you also have like the substantial nexus question. Where is the action happening? Where is the violation occurring? How can we tie it to the harm? So I think the jurisdictional action is really done early on in the filtering process with the focus on where is the best place for success.
Thank you, Michael. The next question is for you, Neil. What do you see as the next evolution in wiretap litigation? And are there particular technologies or industries you expect will come under scrutiny next?
Yeah, I think this question has two answers. The first is regarding legal trends. We're always monitoring and to find out what is the demand of successful legal trends out there. This is sometimes could be oblivious, something that is not really we cannot really expect. The second answer is Darrow is actively trying to find and be ahead of the curve with the next litigation trends in privacy, of course, including. So, for example, we have previously were more focused on trackers that are focused on analytics tools and analytics services. Today, we are mainly focusing on real-time bidding, known as RTB trackers. These are trackers that are for programmatic ad auctions. And we have good reasons to believe why this type of technology is going to be very popular in future privacy litigation.
Yeah. I think Etia, who is our VP of partnerships, she once said that the only way to to regulate technology, is to keep up with technology. And I think that it's really ever so relevant when it comes to data and privacy. And the only way to somehow regulate and keep up with everything that's happening out there, is to be in tune with using tools that are relevant. Another question. Can you
Definitely.
walk us through an example of how data or automation has helped uncover a wiretap case that might otherwise have gone unnoticed?
Of course. Yeah, here in Darrow, we have a set of internal tools that help us identify legal violations in the privacy domain. Um, For example, we can identify in real time data transmissions, encrypted data transmissions, and our tools are able to alert us when such transmissions are taking place and also decrypt the data that is being transmitted to understand what is the content of the information being transmitted. Um, Obviously, these are cases that without our tools and our capabilities would have gone unnoticed. Yeah, and we have more than a few cases that we found with this type of technology. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Michael. And thank you again to everyone who made the time to join us today. I want to invite you to reach out if you have any questions or comments. The email is contact@darrow.ai. Michael's email is on this webinar, so is Nir, and so is mine. So feel free to be in touch. Michael and Nir, thank you for joining me today. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye, everyone.
you.
I mean, thanks so much.